Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. Today, this video, I'm going to show you the fastest and easiest way to make cards that I've found. And along the way, I'm going to share some tips and things that I've learned doing it this way. So these are just card bases. Most of them are 6 by 6, but one is 5 by 7. And here are some Christmas napkins. I got these all from NINNYSNAPKINS, and I selected them because they have background colors in them mostly, and I thought that they would work. And here's what I'm going to use. This is brand new to me, a heat press machine. Now this is not Cricut, it's kind of a no-name brand, but it's nice and small, and it looks like the mini Cricut one at a lesser price point than Cricut. So for me, because I don't know that I'm going to use it a lot, I didn't want to spend more money. I wanted to save my money for other things. So I'm unpacking. It came with a little bag, a heat pad, a silicone pad, some transfers. I could really care less about that kind of stuff. What I really wanted was this mini heat press. Now, this looks just like the Cricut. I'm going to set it at 2 settings to do what I'm going to do. There are 3, and it has a base, and that was really important to me. It also shuts down. So this took 3 minutes to get up to the 2nd level and get ready to use to press. You can turn it off. It also automatically goes off in 15 minutes. I'll link a similar one that I found in Amazon down below. So I'm taking the napkins and I'm using my guillotine cutter here and just cutting them apart. That way it's really easy. Now when we're making cards, if you do things assembly line, it super speeds up the process because you're pulling out the tools once and using them multiple times and getting everything prepped. So once that's cut apart, I'm peeling off the 2 excess plies on each one. Now, do not throw those excess plies away. We're going to use them at the end of the video. So I'm just peeling off the excess plies and prepping everything. So again, we're going assembly line. Now, I'm going to use a Mod Podge here because that's what I've seen, but you can use fluid matte medium or another adhesive. I'm slipping the card bases into my little envelopes to keep the other part of the card neat and tidy, and I'm giving it a good coat of, in this case, Mod Podge, because I want to use it up. And this is a good place to use it because it's not going to affect the sheen. You want to make sure that you get right to the edges so that you get good adhesion when we're putting the napkin, ironing the napkin on. And again, I'm going to just take all the cards and give them all a coat. So I'm using the brush once, I have 1 cleanup, and that saves time. So now what I want to do is I'm lining it up. Now when the Mod Podge is dry now, I can take my time and get things perfectly aligned, and that's an advantage to using wet Mod Podge to glue it down. Now I'm grabbing a piece of parchment paper. This is just Dollar Tree parchment paper, and then putting it over top and then using the heat press, the mini heat press, to reactivate the glue. It basically melts the glue and sticks the napkin down. So one, the advantage of using the Mod Podge and having it dry, you can find and get the exact placement and it's easier. And 2, when you iron it like this, there are no wrinkles. There are absolutely no wrinkles. Now I'm checking here to make sure I've got adhesions. Remember, this is the first time I'm using this heat press, so I'm learning as I go. So I'm just giving it an extra little push here because I don't quite believe that it's so perfect. And then I'm going to go on and do all the other cards. So if you were doing card making, you can do 20 of them from different cards. Just do all the heat pressing in one big session. How easy and quick is this? Now I cut the parchment paper down because having a big piece was just causing me some grief, so you don't need it too big. How cute is this snowman? Now I learned that if you start in the middle and press outward, I think that's probably a better plan. But none of them, no matter how I used that press, I didn't have a single wrinkle. So I can't compare my no-name brand heat press to the Cricut because I do not have the Cricut, but it's doing the job, and that's what I want, and it was at a price point that I liked. If I was doing a lot of this, maybe I would invest more money into it. So, but I'm going to experiment with it on my art journal pages as well. So stay tuned and you'll see me using the heat press maybe in other ways. So there are the 5 cards, and yes, I'm going to do another one, but that is part of the lesson learned. I'm turning it off. Although, just a reminder, it does automatically turn off in about 15 minutes and it beeps at the time. So now I have this excess napkin on the other side, and I grab my scissors and I start cutting that off because I'm thinking, okay, that's the way I need to do it. Now you want to make sure it's completely dry. That makes your life easier. But then I remembered I grabbed this file at the Dollar Tree just recently, and I thought, I'm going to give it a try. One of the sides is really rough. I'm using the smoother side, and OMG, look how easy and quick that came out. And again, we're doing an assembly line. So we're just using that file and just getting off the excess. You could have a whole stack of all your Christmas cards there, sit in front of the TV, binge watch your favorite show, and file away the excess. At no time did it rip the part of the card that I didn't want it ripping. So just work your way around. But I've used the sanding block before and different things. This works so much better. So again, this one, it's called Diamond Cosmetics, and this pink. So go into your Dollar Tree and buy yourself a couple of them. You know, sometimes they disappear, so I'll be headed back to buy another one. So this is pretty much the basics of the card making. This is the fast, quick part. And once you have this, you could say, I'm done. But I'm going to show you some options of what you can do, and I'm going to be sharing what I've learned, which was lots. Here I've used some Distress Archival ink from a re-inker, put it on a makeup or on a blending foam, and I'm just edging a couple of the cards with the brown that go with the brown. I just thought, you know, I'm just going to edge it to finish it off. It's what I do, and it worked really well with the Distress ink here. So whether you're using a re-inker or using the Distress ink to colorize the edges, either would work. But then I decided, you know, I'm always shading my pages with acrylic paint and water. I'm going to give that a try. And this is where, well, I learned a few things. Well, first off, when I started doing it, it's just fighting me. It's not going on smoothly. It's really slow, and it seems to be wicking into the napkin a little bit. So I'm kind of fighting with it right here and trying to figure out what's happening and why it's happening and what I'm going to do about it. So I'm adding a little bit of blue to the black because I think it'll go well with the card. But again, it's just not going on smoothly, and it's wicking way into the napkin, and you're going to see that even more in a couple seconds. It's just not giving the shading, edging effect that I usually get on my art journal pages. Now, remember, we put the Mod Podge or the fluid matte medium underneath. At no time did we put it on the top, which means it is raw napkin on the top. It is not sealed. So it will wick into the napkin. It will be harder to put it on because it is a porous surface. And you, in order to put acrylics on top and have them float and do what they do, you need a non-porous surface, which usually we get because I put a layer of matte medium on top. Now here I'm using it to my advantage and I'm adding some color. I want it to look watercolory on this snowman. I'm adding little bits of color down below, and that's working. I'm still not sure what I'm going to do about it. I'm not exactly happy with what's happened. Stay tuned and I'm going to show you how I solved the problem and what I would do different next time. Because this was exploration. This was the first time I've ironed on the napkins and have had to deal with it. So here I thought, I'm going to keep this all black and white, and I'm going to make the borders black there. Once I have the black, I thought, oh, I like that. So I go back on the other cards and I add more black. That's giving me a little more contrast. It looks a little bit neater. Again, I'm working things out as I go along. So I wanted to colorize some things on the napkin. So I grabbed the stencil butters, which are these pearlized, almost modeling paste-ish, but you can paint with them. And that's what I'm doing here. I've thinned them down ever so much, and I'm painting his hat or her hat and the gloves, and it's shiny and pearlized and just bumping up those focal images. Now remember, you can leave the napkin as it is, pretty much the same, but you can add some of these details, and you may want to do this. Then I remember I have some glossy accents, so I thought I'm going to put that on his goggles, so that will be shiny. And then I'm putting the eyes of the rabbits and the lantern here, just adding a little something something, and then all the ornaments on this Christmas tree. I also do the bow that you see over there. I really love the addition of glossy accents. I'm a glossy accent addict. Now this, because it has the acrylic paint, look, it's floating. It's shading properly on the gloves and on a hat. And I'm thinking to myself, But what I've done there is I've turned that into a non-porous surface. So of course it's going to work. But I love how adding a little bit of shading here and there is just bumping up that focal image. So here we could stop. We've got borders, we've got a little bit of shine, a little bit of detail. Remember, you can add as much or as little to your card. Now I wasn't happy with the border, so I grabbed my fine line applicator. I've got some gold Liquitex Basics paint in there that has been thinned down, and I'm just going to add a gold border, just do a stream of it. And then I'm just going to turn the card and go all the way around, trying to avoid putting my wrist or hand into the wet paint. Liking the look of it, I grab and do the same with all the other cards. And then I splatter with gold. And again, if you're splattering, I would put as many as I can on the table and then splatter. Push them aside, put the next section in, and splatter. So I'm really liking the look, and I could be done here. But I'm going to continue and try things out and solve that problem. So here I'm going to solve the problem. Now I was told that if you're using the iron-on method and you put a coat of matte medium on top, it will reactivate the matte medium or the Mod Podge underneath and cause wrinkles. So I give it a try. Now this one had dried overnight, and I put a layer of, I think it was Liquitex Basic or Liquitex Fluid Matte Medium. And I dried it, no wrinkles. So then I thought, okay, what happens if you do it like right away? So I grab another card base, I put a layer of Mod Podge, dry it up, and then iron on a napkin, just like I did with the other 5. Start in the middle, work my way out, and I'm done. So again, I'm going to file off the edges, and right away, just put a layer of Fluid Matte Medium on top. And guess what? No wrinkles. It didn't lift up, it didn't reactivate in any negative way, but now I have sealed it. I've sealed it. It is now a non-porous surface that I can colorize, that's not going to wick out. It's not raw paper. So this Gnome for the Holidays one has quite a journey. And I do the noses in the burgundy, and then I just try to colorize on the side with the burgundy. And I thought, that's all I'm going to do. But I didn't like it. So I grab my pit markers, that's what you see me doing here, and I can use them because this is a non-porous surface. So I would, right at the beginning, after I ironed them on, taken off the excess, I would put a layer of Fluid Matte Medium, clear gesso on top. Now I didn't like the burgundy now that I've colorized the hats, so I grabbed some rubbing alcohol and I'm just taking off some. And the reason I can do this is because of the Fluid Matte Medium had turned it into a non-porous surface. So it's allowing me to take some, not all of it off. But you're going to see, I continue. I don't give up. So I decide I'm going to do blue because now there's that blue hat in there and you want everything to coordinate, right? Well, it's an improvement, but I'm still not happy with it. So let's work on this one. Now, this one, I've put a coat of Fluid Matte Medium on top, and I'm edging it. Just like I did the first ones. It goes on quick and easy. It doesn't wick out past where I want it to go. It does what it does on my art journal page. So I'm happy. So again, what I would do after you iron it on and get off the excess, I would put a layer of fluid matte medium, clear gesso, Mod Podge, if that's what you have, on top. I didn't wait. I didn't get wrinkles. Now this is when I've used the iron decoupage technique on paper. This is mixed media paper, it's cardstock, and it's watercolor paper. And in none of those did it cause wrinkles. It didn't reactivate. Here I'm taking some iridescent medium and just going all over. This is adding a nice sheen to this card base and just giving it a little something extra. Quick and easy. So it's an option that you have. I could have also used some stencil butters to do that if I had the right colors. So still not happy with these little gnomes. I'm colorizing their entire bodies. And the great thing about this napkin, there were 6 of them. You could make 6 cards and colorize them differently and have unique cards. So I'm using black over that blue now because I'm not happy with that. And I think I end up thickening the border, the black and the top and the bottom. And now I'm okay with this card. It's come again. And I've given it some shading. I've splattered it with black paint, and then I come back and I splatter it with gold, and this just tied it all together. Splatters fix everything. So back to this one. I am now using some of the acrylic paints, and I'm over painting. This is something that if you've watched my channel, you've seen me do on my art journal pages. Now I can overpaint on here without worrying about it wicking out because I've sealed the paper with a coat of fluid matte medium, Mod Podge, or clear gesso. So I'm just using colors, and I'm just beefing up the colors of the main focal image. I'm adding some gray, I'm adding some details, and this really bumps up the card. Now, you don't have to do this. You could have left it as it was, just adding a few little things. But this is giving you options. Once you have all of them sitting there, on any given day, you can say, oh, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do this. And you can work away with them, adding all these details at your own time schedule. I'm adding a gold frame around here with my fine line bottle, fine line applicator. This one finally came together. It gave me a bit of a bubble. And I grabbed my Christmas stamps. I've got a variety, some from the Dollar Tree, some from wherever that I've collected. I've also got these TCW ones. And I use a lot of the sentiments from those packs, so check out the links below. I'm stamping some snowflakes on this one with the blue acrylic paint. And some snowflakes on this one. But a lot of these napkins had background to them, so you really don't have to add a lot. Now this, I've put a coat of clear gesso on, but you could use fluid matte medium or Mod Podge, and now I can shade on it easily without it wicking. So that was a big lesson that I've learned, and because I made the mistake, you get to learn from me. Just adding that little bit of shading, outlining of them just makes the focal images pop. So here, instead of using acrylic paints to colorize, I'm using my Inktense blocks. So I showed you with the pit markers, I've showed you with the acrylic paints, and now I'm showing you Inktense blocks. And again, this surface has been sealed with a coat of clear gesso, and it allows me to put on the color without it wicking out where I don't want it. So I'm going to colorize this, and then I'm going to come in and shade it. So remember those extra plies? Now you need to get them out. And I have my Christmas or holiday stamps, and I'm going to stamp them into black acrylic paint and then stamp onto one ply of those excess plies of napkins. And I'm going to do multiples of each stamp because, well, sometimes it doesn't work out. And it never hurts to have excess, especially if you are in the process of making all your Christmas cards. Let's get it all done. Then we only have to wash the stamp once. So I picked some Holly Jolly and Let It Snow. These again are mostly from the TCW holiday stamps. And you can go check that out in their store. There's a link and coupon code in the description box. So once I have them all stamped, I'm just going to use my water brush or my brush and water cut them, just cutting around. Now because it's white napkin, that goes translucent and you won't see it when you glue it onto the card. This allows you to test it out. Do you like the sentiment? Does it fit? And you make sure that you have that perfect stamp. Just make sure that the acrylic paint is completely dry before you glue it down. Otherwise it will smudge. So I like this one right here, Peace, Love, Joy. So I put a coat of the fluid matte medium underneath and on top. And it's gone translucent. Whatever is behind it comes through. So here I've glued it over top of that one snowflake, and the snowflake comes through. Don't be sparing on the fluid matte medium. A little bit more makes it go more translucent. And there are the finished stamps or finished cards. How easy is that? You can add as much or as little as you want. Which one's your favorite? Let me know in the comment section below. Until next time, go get creative.